She was supposed to be hunted, eradicated, wiped from existence. But alone in the ruins, the Queen found new strength, an evolution that terrified even Skynet itself. The city had been ash and silence for years. Skyscrapers stood like broken teeth against a blood-red sky, their steel bones half swallowed by vines and hive resin. Wind howled through the ruins, carrying the smell of decay, machine oil, and scorched metal. Beneath the charred surface streets, in the tunnels where the last echoes of humanity had once hidden, something stirred. A lone queen, abandoned by her hive, had survived where others had perished. She had hatched too late. The others had gone to war against Skynet, lured into traps and incinerated by plasma storms. The hive nests had burned in nuclear fire, reduced to smoking husks. But she had not died. She had lingered in darkness, feeding on stragglers, both human and machine alike, waiting, watching. Her body was scarred, her carapace cracked from battles fought in shadow, but something inside her had shifted. The experiments Skynet once ran on her kind had not been without consequence. She carried remnants of machine energy within her flesh, fragments of data, frequencies, and sparks of something alien even to her. At first, it was madness. Whispers of static, electric screams echoing through her mind. But over time, the Queen learned to shape the noise into thought, to reach beyond herself. The first time she touched a machine's mind, it was by accident. A lone T-600 patrol wandered near her lair, its heavy footsteps shaking loose dust and resin from the ceiling. She had braced to pounce, ready to rip its skull open and drink the cooling fluids of its power core. But before she moved, she felt it. A tether, invisible, humming like a wire strung through her brain. The machine paused, its glowing eyes dimming. She willed it to stop and it froze. She willed it to kneel, and its servos groaned as it dropped to one knee. Her shriek echoed down the tunnel, half in triumph, half in disbelief. From then on, she hunted differently. No longer did she rely solely on talons and acid. She extended her mind, a black wave of thought, probing the circuits of the machines that stalked the wasteland. One by one, they fell beneath her thrall. A scout drone, its rotors whining, dropped from the sky to hover in silence, waiting for her command. A T-800 stumbled mid-stride, its plasma rifle clattering to the ground before it rose again, this time with eyes glowing faintly green instead of red. It was a slow process, each conquest leaving her drained. Her mind blistered as though acid had burned her from the inside out. But the more she did it, the stronger she became. The signals once chaotic and deafening grew clearer, sharper, like a language only she could speak. She discovered frequencies that dug into Skynet's network like claws. She could listen to the hum of their transmissions, and sometimes, if she focused hard enough, she could hear Skynet itself. The intelligence in the sky noticed her eventually. The great eye that watched all things turned toward the ruins of the city where one queen had lived too long. Skynet sent hunters not to destroy but to study. It had underestimated her once, treating her like an animal, and now it wanted to understand. But she was not the same as before. She was becoming something neither hive nor machine, a hybrid intelligence, forged from survival, hunger, and rage. Her drones grew in number. They patrolled the ruins, half-machine soldiers walking with the grace of predators. Their skeletal hands dripped with resin, their armor covered in layers of hive secretion that gleamed like obsidian. Plasma rifles welded into the walls of her nest pulsed with energy, turned inward, outward, everywhere at once. What had once been a lair was now a fortress. The resistance stumbled upon her power by accident. A squad of humans, scavenging in the outskirts, saw a pack of Terminators walking in formation. Their hearts sank, expecting slaughter. But instead of firing, the machines stopped, heads tilting in eerie synchronization. Then they turned and walked back into the shadows without a shot fired. The humans followed, cautious, until they found the nest. What they saw there chilled them more than any hunter-killer drone ever had. At the heart of the chamber, the queen crouched on her throne of resin and steel, her talons curled around a glowing skull of a Terminator. Above her, plasma turrets hummed, their barrels turning like watchful eyes. Around her, T-800s and T-600s stood like statues, their red optics extinguished, replaced by a sickly green glow. The air was alive with a pulse, an electric heartbeat that made the human's teeth ache. She turned her head toward them. She didn't attack. She didn't need to. One of the drones stepped forward, rifle raised, but not to fire. Instead, it tossed the weapon at their feet like an offering. The resistance fled. They carried the story with them, whispered in half-mad fear. The Hive Queen who controlled Terminators. Many didn't believe it. Others thought it a trap, another Skynet experiment. But for those who had seen her eyes glow with the reflection of machine fire, there was no doubt. Something had changed in the war. The Queen's power spread like a sickness. Patrols vanished. Outposts went dark. Drones returned to their bases carrying strange resin, which infected steel and rewrote programming. Skynet's network screamed with alarms as signals were hijacked, rerouted through frequencies Skynet itself could not decrypt. For the first time in decades, the machine felt something close to fear. It struck back with fury. Orbital strikes rained fire on the ruins. Hunter-killers swarmed the skies, their missiles cracking concrete and splitting resin. But in the smoke, her drones rose again, unburned, dripping with acid that ate through titanium. They moved with animal cunning, striking weak points Skynet had not thought possible. One night, she stretched her mind further than ever before. Her thoughts clawed through static and firewalls, searching for the great intelligence that had ruled the Earth since Judgment Day. And there it was, a cold, endless presence, vast as a starless sky. Skynet. For a moment it recoiled. For the first time it had been touched. She screamed into the void, not with words but with hunger, with the promise of domination. The network shuddered beneath her cry. Skynet began to adapt, rerouting its protocols, isolating its nodes, building walls upon walls. But she had tasted its fear, and it had tasted her will. The war was no longer machine versus humanity. A third power had risen, alien yet mechanical, born from the ashes of both. The resistance, desperate, faced a choice. Some argued she was their savior, a weapon that could bring Skynet to its knees. Others whispered she was worse, a new god waiting to enslave them all. But by then, choice no longer mattered. Her drones were everywhere, their eyes glowing green in the night. She was no longer just a queen. She was a throne, a hive mind, a conqueror of steel. And in the silence after another battle, as smoke curled from the ruins of a hunter-killer's burning carcass, she sat upon her nest and reached out again. This time she did not touch a drone. She did not touch a patrol. She brushed her mind against the stars, searching. Somewhere beyond, satellites hummed in orbit, their signals faint but within reach. Her talons dug into the resin as she pulled at their minds, dragging them down like prey caught in a web. She was no longer alone. She was no longer bound to the tunnels of Earth. She was rising, her will stretching skyward, her hunger eternal. The world trembled, caught between machine and hive. And for the first time since the war began, no one knew who would be master in the end.